are powered by people like you who make those software services and applications happen day by day, every day. Think about it. You order groceries, you buy medicines, you buy insurance, you take a cab to come here, perhaps. And behind each of those interactions is a chain of services, and those services are powered by the software. I came to Bangalore 27 years ago. It was just me, my two-wheeler, and a sales job. Life was very simple. There was no software at that point of time. However, 27 years ago, I didn't know that the transformation which will be happening, and the one that we've really now taken for granted, is perhaps built by this very software infrastructure which has actually been created by you. Every click you make, every interaction that you do, every decision that you make, that is powered by an application. Looks very simple at the surface. But as a citizen, there is that invisible filter. Do I trust everything that I'm doing? There's a trust behind all of this. And you have built this entire trust infrastructure in the way software gets propelled. One perhaps did not realize it, but the software infrastructure is getting built by it. As builders, you have infused trust in everything that you do. But now, something is shifting. Software is not just executing to the code that is being written. Software is actually thinking, it's interpreting, and it's deciding. And when software begins to think, trust is no longer something that you really can take for granted. You have to thoughtfully design it in the core of everything that you do. You have to think about it in the design and not as an afterthought. That's what actually drew me to Anthropic. Anthropic as a company which thinks of building products which are safe, beneficial, and in which interpretability, trust come in the core of everything that we do. Anthropic is a public benefits corporation, and hence the impact that is driven for the world alongside the way we are working along with large enterprises, everything is written and well governed. That's what really brought me across to thinking about Anthropic and the impact that is doing to the rest of the world. Now, I'll add one last thing. This is something very close to my heart. 15 years back, I started a foundation called My Little Bit. Now, this was for underserved girls, started with actually one computer in one lab to teach girls Excel, PowerPoint, and the rest. Now that has gone across to scholarships for STEM, to skills, to jobs for girls, and impacting hundreds of thousands of girls. That little thing taught me something, that the power of technology is not for the sake of technology unless the diffusion happens to the rest of the community. That's the lens that I want to bring here today. All of us sitting here, the way you all have built population scale problems, the way you've built software that impacts billions of people is the way that we want to partner with everybody in the way that you'll be propelling things and building things for the future. Now let me tell you, shifting gears, where am I seeing things today? India is already the second largest user base for Claude.ai globally. A big hand to all of you for that. And since we announced our operations in India in October, the run rate revenue has become almost double. 6% of the overall conversation is happening from India. But it's really not to do only about the volume of the conversation, it's about how you're doing it. 50% of the conversation is happening on computational and mathematical work. Developers here are building codes which are propelling industries, modernizing large databases, building production-grade software at scale. A recent study just found that 4% of the overall commit, which is happening to GitHub wired via Claude, happened and doubled in just a month's time. And that's the way that we're looking at investments happening in India as well. In the last 6 months, we've taken the overall way that Claude was getting propelled by Indic languages, 10 of them, from Hindi to Bengali, from Malayalam to Gujarati. 10 Indic languages have now been infused into Claude, and what you see in Opus 4.6 is the latest iterative way that Claude is coming across, and we're continuing to build on top of that. Now, one question which often gets asked is how are people using it all over? And here are some examples that we are incredibly proud to share. We are partnering with organizations that have not just used, they have taken Claude and brought it across to their consumers in the most pervasive way. We have Cognizant, which has powered 350,000 people within the organizations and modernizing databases and taking it across to modernize legacy applications for their clients. We've got Air India, which has optimized building of codes and also built agentic applications for customer service and a lot more thereon. Razorpay, doing a lot towards risk management and decision making. We've got Karya and Collective Intelligent Project, which are now ensuring that the data that we are taking, which is core for building the multi-language interface, is actually building the AI for tomorrow. Now, when I speak to a lot of enterprises across, the question no more is about the if, when, the development at scale. It's all about the velocity with which this infusion can happen. And Indian organizations, from my lens, are adopting things in a way which is much more quicker than a lot of other markets. So when you, from your vantage points, are creating and building the software, we just feel that the architects of what will be getting built tomorrow are sitting all here with us today. What will be decided in the way the AI era will be coming up, will be coming across from here. The reason being, when India solves for developing software in the most complex of challenges, in the most complex of network infrastructure availability, and solving for a complex diversity which is multilinguistic in nature, then we are ready to take it across to the world. So with that, I really want to thank all of you once again for being with us here today, and we will dig a little more deeper into this with none other than Dario. So with that, let me have the pleasure and honor to invite Dario on stage. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Dario, you've been to India twice in the last 6 months, and we've been seeing an incredible momentum coming across with our builders and developers. So what is it that you've learned from some of the entrepreneurs and the developer community here, and is there anything which really surprised you?
Yes, so I think one of the most unique things about India is maybe the technical intensity of the kind of usage of Claude. I mean, we've always seen a mixture of kind of casual consumer use and kind of prosumer and developer use, and Claude has always skewed a little bit more towards the kind of productivity and professional, but I think that's even more so here. That's even more so here in India. We just have a huge community of developers who use the API, developers who use Claude Code or Claude Code within the API. I believe Anthropic's business, its run rate revenue within India, has doubled over the last 4 months since I last visited. And Claude Code may have grown even faster with this set of developers. So it's just really incredible to see kind of the rate at which things are happening. It mirrors the general progress and the explosion in Claude models and coding models, but I think is even more extreme in India than we've seen in other places in the world.
Lovely to hear that. Thank you. You are seeing some global patterns emerging in various parts of the world. And when you think about the AI opportunity for India, what are some of those which you think that India can lead or contribute with?
Yeah, I would say again, kind of we're just going through the ability to kind of build software with AI and build as kind of developers on top of AI and build new applications and I think again just the kind of efficiency of the market here, the energy of very large numbers of people wanting to, find something and build something. I think that greatly exceeds, what I've seen anywhere else. One thing I was just hearing about yesterday is it sounds like the Ministry of Statistics here is building a kind of MCP server to kind of query economic data and economic statistics and I think generally speaking government bodies elsewhere don't move this fast, aren't as kind of up on things. So again, I think that kind of the entrepreneurial energy and technical acumen really is unique here. The other thing I would say is just the pure scale. We can do experiments here with hundreds of millions of people, right? The pure scale allows us as long as we're willing to pivot our experiments, allows us to learn things very quickly that you can't do in smaller markets, and so the ability to kind of for entrepreneurs builders to learn quickly and fail fast, I think here exceeds what we see in many other places.
Lovely to hear that. India has the incredible opportunity because you've got the largest working class population and it's also got a proven track record of having built the digital public infrastructure which serves the billions. Now when developers and builders here look at the future, how should they think about working alongside Anthropic in the way that they can have an influence?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a number of just particularly exciting applications here that were that are pretty unique. One set that I've seen is around the large number of languages in India. So building things that kind of interoperate between those languages and kind of make it easier to translate and are able to be multilingual. Claude is working very hard to get kind of the long tail of languages, and I know we have a lot of regional languages in India. And I've just seen some cool applications, including on the nonprofit and social benefit side. There's this effort called Adelit AI that's making the information from a whole bunch of court cases kind of available and publicly queryable. And we've been working with the XStep Foundation to build digital infrastructure, and seen applications for that. Things like helping small farmers get advice on how to increase their productivity. So just the kind of the simplest stuff in the world, but really bringing AI into the digital infrastructure and kind of allowing productivity and social benefit to kind of diffuse throughout the very many people in this country.
Lovely to hear that. So now from the Indian context, let me switch over to things happening globally. When you are seeing enterprises globally that are getting the most value of what they can do with Claude, what are some of the things which, say, possibly others are not seeing right now?
Yeah, so I think one of the most important things here is skating where the puck is going. So I used to say this a couple years ago. I would say, you shouldn't build for where the AI models are now. You should build for where they are in a year or two. If you're a large enterprise, if you're a big effort trying to build something, it's going to take a while to actually deploy and test things. So you should be imaginative about where the technology is going to go. Don't build for step 4 out of a 10-step workflow, try and do the whole workflow, even if the AI model isn't quite capable of it yet. And I think 2 years ago, people didn't understand the speed at which things were going. So I would often get kind of eyebrows with that advice. But with every model release, people have gradually started to understand this. And so I think the people who understand the most are the ones who kind of transform things end to end, and who use things in the most expensive way possible. So one example is, if we look at, for example, Claude Code, long before we released Cowork, which is our kind of non-technical version of Claude Code, our legal department, our finance department, our comms department started using Claude Code, or more precisely, the kind of agentic engine underneath it, not the CLI tool, but the kind of agentic engine underneath it, because this idea of having an agent and doing tasks applies to far more than just code. And so the companies that have understood that, the kind of users that have understood that, I think have gotten much further ahead than others, and they kind of see the future because they're able to use models in ways that correspond to a product that we haven't released yet. They're able to kind of see ahead of our roadmap. And I think the companies that have worked with us have and been the most effective, have deployed things kind of very broadly and leaned very far forward.
Absolutely. One of the things that people have read, and something which is dear to you, is the paper you wrote on adolescence of AI. And for a lot of people out here, they would also want to understand the philosophy and the way that they should be thoughtful about how they're building for the future. What are some of the nuggets that you'd want to leave for them?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the big picture of where AI is going, right? Zooming out from the commercial side, and people wanting to build AI, which is great. The market can bring many benefits, but I think in building, we need to understand that this technology is really going to change the world at a speed and to a degree that we haven't really seen with any other technology before. I mean, that sounds hyperbolic, but if we just look at the rate of improvement and the rate of diffusion and adoption, it's really something that doesn't really have any precedent in modern history. So, I think there are a number of things we should be careful of. The models can be used, but they can also be misused. So, if we build a model that helps people write, it can also be used for cyber attacks, and we try and put some safeguards there, but we need the help of our customers in order to do these things. I think another thing is building for democracy, and India is the world's largest democracy, and so helping government to be more efficient, to serve the people better. I think that's a really valuable, really valuable use of the technology, and building it so that everyone benefits economically. There are going to be some, big economic turmoil that comes from this technology, even as it produces great value, and we need to make sure that everyone shares in the benefits.
Totally. And looking at the other side of the bookend, when you think about the machines of loving grace, so when you're kind of thinking about coexisting, how should people then be thinking about living alongside the software that they're building and living in a unison together?
Yeah, I mean, I think this can go in many different directions. The thing I'm maybe most excited about on the positive side is kind of the medical benefits of the technology. So, I really encourage people to build places where AI intersects with areas like medicine and health. I think medicine and health is a good one. If you're building, a pure app, a pure, UI that does some software thing, it's like, well, there's the model and many people can build that. But I think the things that really are going to have the biggest moats are those that, relate to the physical world, or to kind of something real in the world of atoms, or, just something that's not easy to do, a skill set that, not that many people have, and I think biology and medicine kind of fit all fit all of those bills. It's kind of a specialized area. You have to have a lot of knowledge of it. Not just anyone building things can understand it. You have to deal with the whole regulatory system, and so all that's hard work. But the hard work is going to lead to durable businesses in that area. So I really encourage that. And then the second thing I would encourage is building for things that make people's lives better, right? If we look at consumer AI products, Anthropic is not mostly on the consumer side, but we serve companies that in turn serve consumers. And I think it's really easy to to build models or products on top of these models that are, that are kind of addictive, that are only in people's short-term interests, not their long-term interests. But I think we can also build things that really are in people's long-term interests and make their lives, that guide people through life and make their lives better. That's, one of the core ideas that I wrote about in Machines of Love and Grace, that, we can actually build AIs, agents, models that act in our long-term interest, and think properly in that way. And I really encourage people to build in that direction.
And thank you for that. One of the things that people have always been wondering, and more so now, is the shift in the way people's life skills are coming along writing software. So say people thinking in a more humanistic way, the EQ, etc., kind of going up. Any thoughts around that?
Sorry, repeat the question.
The way people, humans and computer has to coexist, and the EQ, which has to be built across.
Yeah. No, I think that's, I think that's very important. Increasingly we are going to be building, things that have many of the cognitive capabilities that humans have. And as we build these things that have many of the cognitive capabilities that humans have, kind of coexisting and deciding what are the things that require a human touch, what are the things that require kind of an AI system to work with it, what are the things AIs are best at, what are the things humans are best at, how do we have almost like a mixed society of humans and AIs.
Totally, thank you. Let me close with this. You have 250 builders here in this room. What should they be excited about the next few months as they think about building?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about some of these areas already. I think as the models are getting better at, kind of science and health and biology, I think models were not, up to par there. That's a complex technical area, but I think we're starting to get there. And I think on software, we're starting to go more end-to-end. The models are starting to do multi-stage workflows, and, humans can step into the role of supervisors and, accelerate themselves by a factor of 10x to 100x. So I think there's a kind of, a lot of things to do there. And I would also say increasingly tasks like, finance or the ability to do things in kind of the legal world. These are areas where increasingly the models get better, and so I think there's a lot of startups and a lot of things to be built where I think real progress is possible in those areas. I mean, we have some startups who have been working in those areas for a while, but there's going to be several different takes on how to work in those industries, and I think we need to kind of let 1,000 flowers bloom and try a bunch of different approaches in a bunch of different locations in the world and a bunch of different those industries. They're big industries, and there's room for dozens of startups in any areas. So I think it's a very exciting time.
Thank you very much, Dario. It was absolutely an incredible pleasure and an honor for this entire audience to be sharing your words today with all of us. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Irina.
Thanks a lot. With that, we now have the next session, wherein we will be having our global CTO, Rahul Patil, up on the stage. But before we do that, a small video snippet for all of you.
There have never been a worse time.
So in 2009, people said building a biometric solution for 1 billion people country was impossible. And then India built Aadhaar. All of you are familiar with this, of course. Aadhaar gave 1.4 billion people a digital identity and unlocked essential services at a massive scale. All of India now has access to this in just less than 1 decade. It is so successful that this is a template for more than 50 countries around the world. One more impossible story. In 2016, Universal instant payments was considered impossible, especially in India. So it was kind of destined for credit card companies to, have a large fee taken out of the Indian consumers and merchants. But also, more importantly, it was locking in financial services to the elite few. What did India do? Bet on itself, built a UPI. Just how successful was UPI? Today, it does something like 230 billion transactions per year. Let me contextualize this. It is 12 times more than all the real-time transactions that happen in US, UK, and EU combined. That is massive achievement in less than a decade. I worked at Stripe, so I really know how special this is. And it is cheaper, it is more reliable, it is faster. And the thing that is very special is that it works for India. It works for the street vendor, it works for the business person, it works for the employee, it works for the organization. It works really well for India. Everybody wins. So, time and again, what we see is India embraces new technology and then figures out how to scale at the planet level. I'm Rahul Patil. I'm the CTO here at Anthropic. I'm here to talk about where we're taking Claude and why India is such a huge center of this story for us. I'm here to talk to all the builders here in the room and ask every builder to join us to do what we've done time and again. Be part of the tech revolution that really makes it accessible to everybody in the world. Now, you may be looking at the photo, wondering, is that AI generated? Now, that is before AI. This is AI generated. Okay. So who am I really? I'm a builder for builders at heart. I'm born and brought up from Bangalore. My parents live 2 kilometers from here. I fell in love with computer science in the 6th grade. My mom was a computer science teacher, and that's how I got introduced to computer science. So now she's still inspiration. She still bugs me about how things are going at work. Now, I studied in Baldwin's, I studied in Joseph's, I studied in the PS University. I went on to US and I did more studies there. The best education for me has always been about learning to learn. I went on, oh, by the way, like a fun story about PS. How many of you know how strict the PS University is? Okay, a bunch of you, okay. It's very, very strict, folks, like I can tell you. So fun fact, I met my wife in first year of engineering. I was dating right then, even though the college was strict. As I said, impossible things are possible in India, okay. So what's my calling? It's been building platforms for builders. That's always been my calling. That's what I've focused on throughout my career. I helped build 3 out of the 4 largest clouds on this planet, and I yearn for that scaled impact, like at the grassroots level of what does it mean to build with a scaled platform. Then I went on to lead at Stripe, building payments and a whole bunch of other financial services infrastructure for the internet. Right? Now, each journey came with a lot of learning, and I'm very, very grateful for all those learnings. Something special happened about a year ago. I was observing AI, I was using AI in that part of my life, and I was just seeing something that is growing so rapidly. It was improving so rapidly. First time everybody was talking about hallucination, how wrong it is, it's just an autocomplete. And then you saw how fast it was improving. It struck at my heart. I'd been part of many tech revolutions, I'd just never seen something improve this rapidly. And then it also occurred to me that this is probably going to be the most transformative thing that's going to happen over the next 100 years. And I asked myself, where do I want to be? What do I want to be doing? And Anthropic was the calling, mostly because it had the right ambition, right vision, but it had the right foundation for doing it scalably and very responsibly. So working at Anthropic became my calling, my mission, It's probably the most important thing I could be doing with my life, and it really appeals to me. So my mandate at Anthropic is to bring together the technology groups, all the core intelligence that you're all familiar with, along with infrastructure at a global scale, and building the products that we've all come to love so far. Ultimately, my goal is to deliver the fastest improving products and platforms, make it extremely dependable so you can trust it in your critical path, you can trust its safety, and more importantly, I want to partner with all of you to be able to make this transition very responsibly around the world. So what is Claude? It's a couple of things, and it's worth breaking it down a little bit, and so that as we evolve, this mental model sticks. First is the base artificial intelligence models. That's our core research thing that we were originally formed to do. And that still drives us pretty much every day, every walk of our thing. It's like we're at the front here, always wondering. At heart, we're a research lab, still in awe and wonder of, in pursuit of something new and novel. Second is the platforms and products through which you all get to experience this intelligence. And on the platform and products, we're very much at the very early stages of how you consume this intelligence. And I'll walk us through some of the stories here. So before I go into the depths of all the models, let me share the philosophy and the mental model. What do we wake up thinking about these AI models? What are they capable of doing? The first question that we always ask is, cool, we're building this intelligence, we're building these models. Does this help people do real work better? So that's like the most important sniff test before we go too deep into the research or productization. Now, why? Why is this important? It's for notes like this. Saket is here somewhere in the audience. And I got this note like a day and a half before this presentation. And it's a very, very young, very new startup. And they've been specializing in some healthcare, and especially chronic care for patients. The fact that they were able to use Claude to understand that there was a clear indication, there was a clear marker that prevented hospitalization. This is what drives us, right? This sort of impact is what drives us. So when I'm building models, I'm thinking about these types of customers who are using it for real work to make things better, not just for themselves, but for their end users. So our hyper-focus is on productive work. You heard Dario speak earlier. Coding, all of you are familiar. It's about the problem solving. You talked about finance. Think about life sciences, biology, chemistry, physics, legal work, knowledge work. So how does this all come together? When you teach something about all of these domains, these skills transfer to other domains. So if you have a physicist extremely good at reasoning from first principles, if you have something that's very good at coding, it is very good at breaking down world's problems and figuring out how to solve them. If it's good at legal, it's good at reasoning. You put them all together, it can solve real-world problems. It can be a great thinking partner for all of you. Now, if we do something like, hey, let's go for short-term addictive entertainment type of things, those things can come in the way because those skills transfer over. Would I really trust something that is trained for addictive entertainment to help me with code reviews, to help me reason about medical stuff, to help me reason about other things? If it's designed to appease me and make me happy all the time, it's not going to push back. It's not going to argue with me about being a better and more effective person with the tools that I have, right? That's why our hyper-focus really matters when we're building these models. I've mentioned, and we'll never get tired of talking about it, safety is paramount. These models are getting more capable. What you notice in this graph is as the models get more capable, we're also investing so much more on safety. They're getting safer and safer with every release. We frequently delay releases of both the AI models and the products until we are 100% sure that it feels like it is safe to do so, right? So we focus a lot on safety. We make this decision every day. Every day. We think about, is it safe to release this? Have we thought about how it interacts with the user? Do we know that it's going to push back against doing the wrong things? then only we bring it out to the world. Okay. Everyone here knows that Claude leads at coding. Now, we go beyond the benchmarks. If you actually ask people what do they use every day in work, startups, enterprises, and all of that stuff, who do they trust the most for coding? It's always been Claude. And the coding leadership is the foundation for everything we're doing. Again, why are we good at coding? It's because we've cross-trained it in the domains that really matter, right? And our focus is on getting real productive work done. Beyond coding, so you've heard a lot about coding, but beyond coding, it is the most trusted reasoning partner for legal, for medical literature, for research, for policy writing, and contract negotiations, and so on. Knowledge workers across all of these domains treat Claude, treat Anthropic as their best reasoning partner. Why is it important for us to have this mindset that we want to be the best reasoning partner? It's for impact like this. So this is an example of another pharmaceutical company, Novo Nordisk, very popular one. If they are able to improve the efficiency of their clinical study, they're able to reduce the time to bring medicines, life-saving medicines and vaccines to the market faster, we will all benefit from it, right? And that's why it's very important for us, okay, when we build, we're building it for safety, we're building it as a critical reasoning partner, we're building it to solve real-world problems. Okay, so with that as the backdrop, as the philosophy of how we bring models, let me talk about the 3 tiers or 3 classes of models that we have that are usable. First is Opus. Opus is the smartest and the largest model. Okay? It gets the most advanced capabilities first and shows you what the future looks like. It is best used for your coding problems, the most complex tasks, but also it's also used to understand how you're ahead in some of the areas that are not yet mainstream. It tells you what is possible. The mindset when you're using Opus is to understand what is possible. The second class models is Sonnet. This is simply the best default. When in doubt, just use Sonnet. It balances between intelligence, cost, and speed, and it gets the same capabilities that Opus has just a couple of months later. It is trained differently. It's trained to be a little bit lighter and faster. And as I said, it's a great default. Like, it's the thing that most people use in production. And then finally, our Haiku model is the one that is used for broad planet scale distribution. So example use cases for some of the lightweight is language translation and so on. The 3-tier model basically allows you to explore, understand what's possible. With Opus, do the hardest things, mainstream it with Sonnet, and then broadly scale at the planet level with Haiku. So the number one question I get is, where are these models going? Like, have we hit the point? Like, all these benchmarks are seeming saturated. I can tell you that the models are rapidly getting more intelligent. And the laws of scaling that Dario and the other co-founders wrote early on still holds. And we are seeing that the models are getting more capable, they're getting, and we're able to do that much faster. So let me illustrate with just one graph. This is against the humanities last exam. You can see that we're shipping more and more stuff. Of course, Claude is helping us research, Claude is helping us develop. So we're shipping more and more stuff. But with every new release, you can see the capability jumps are getting more and more interesting. So the important thing is, if you think the app is barely viable today, it's almost certain that it is definitely going to be viable in a few months. So my ask to all of you builders here is to dream big as possible. If it's barely viable, it's definitely going to be viable very soon. So please keep dreaming bigger. Please keep thinking, because that's what is going to keep pushing on the frontier side. What is the consequence of models getting more capable? Just take one example. Just imagine. So let's say in a post-AI world, everything is like available in abundance. What are the things that we're all deeply going to care about? Health and things like that. So think about 100 years of innovation getting compressed in 10 years. 100 years of medicine and life-saving drugs and health related stuff getting compressed down to 5 years and 10 years. The R&D of these things are also going to accelerate massively. I personally think we're going to have a golden era of medical research, and India is again in a great spot because India exports pharmaceuticals to the rest of the world at a pretty high scale. So we have both the tech talent as well as we have the scale and the know-how how to do medical research really well here. Now, we talked about models. Let me talk about the product and platforms for a little bit. I'll go back to, okay, before I talk about the individual bits and pieces of product and platform, it's important for me to describe our mindset and how we're thinking about it so you know how to predict what is coming next. Anthropic is for builders. There's no way that we're going to be able to think about every use case in every country and all the possible scenarios. It means, and I said, I personally have been loving building platform for builders throughout my career. What I've learned is that we build platforms for the broader set of use cases. We ourselves will use the platform for our own solutions and for our own apps, but we want to make these platforms available to all of you so you can build for every use case you can think of. Secondly, every layer of abstraction we build, we want to make it extensible. It won't be complete by any means, but we will give you the extensibility points so that you can extend it to make it work for you. Now I'll go layer by layer what these stacks and products look like. What do builders want from us? So some builders just say, hey, just give me the raw access to the intelligence, tokens in, tokens out, and I'll be very happy. I can build my own infrastructure. I have some very cool ideas. Great. Happy to expose that raw intelligence. Some people say, I know I want to build an agent already. There's a whole bunch of CRUD work around agentic loop and autonomous stuff and retaining context and retrying and understanding when to end a task, when to ask a customer. But I don't want to actually build all that agent infrastructure. Seems like a platform-like thing to do. We do that too. And lastly, some people are like, hey, just give me the solutions, right? And I want to just be able to customize a little bit, help it scale with my team, help it scale with my organization. And so we have solutions across all of these. So the first layer is models and infrastructure. We talked a little bit about the models. The point about the infrastructure is that all of these models run an ultra-specialized infrastructure that has to work at a massive global scale as well. There's a lot of innovation on the hardware side. There's also a lot of innovation on the networking side. But also how you make it available is also very interesting. So along with these models and infrastructure is the expression of how you can consume it at the raw level. So we have our API stack. The first-party APIs are APIs that you directly talk to us, talk to Anthropic. But we know that almost all enterprises use one of the most popular clouds, AWS, Google Cloud, and so on. So we are one of the very few, actually we are the only model, or the only company that's available in all the clouds natively and across multiple chip architectures. We know that enterprises want to not leave their security domain within these clouds, want to make it easy to be able to access this intelligence. So we both ship first-party APIs, and we make it available in all these clouds natively so that it's much easier for you to build the apps and adopt all the intelligence. So on top of all of this, you can build your own raw infrastructure. As I said, a lot of people are like, hey, I want the agentic loop. I know I want to build an agent. I know I want it to interact with the real world. I know I want it to act. I want it to make decisions and so on. I actually don't want to build the agent's infrastructure. It's just so vanilla. It's straightforward. Also, a lot of innovation is happening. I don't want to keep up with it. Why don't you just make it available to us? So people build their own agents on top of the agents SDK. We also build a lot of custom agents with some of the largest customers because we know that they are unique, they're interesting, and they can actually be game-changing for many of these companies. So we build a bunch of custom agents for some of the largest customers. Claude Code is a great example. It is built on our own agents SDK. It's also built on our own first-party APIs. Any of you could go build your own Claude Code today, right? And you could use Claude Code to go build it if you want. And any of you can do that. And so that's our philosophy. We'll build off-the-shelf solutions when it makes sense, when we have a unique point of view. And then CoWork, that's our most recent chip, CoWork and CoWork plugins. Again, a lot of builders are saying, hey, just give me off-the-shelf solution, but give me extensible points, like plugins, like skills, like a whole bunch of MCP connectors, so that it just makes it much more easier to bring my organizational context, organizational workflow, to be able to use all of these. What does it look like to put this entire stack together at various levels? Adalat AI is a great example. It's like a courtroom operating system. Who are their customers? It's the everyday person who could be speaking in one of the 22 official languages or 1,000 dialects. And most of also like all the legal documentation we have is like scattered across so many different languages and so much different contexts and so many histories and so on. So how do you make it accessible to the common person? How do you make it accessible to lawyers? How do you help courts run more efficiently? So Adalat AI is, again, it's a great example of private-public partnership, something that I'm very excited about, that India has a great track record of. And that uses the entire stack end-to-end to be able to bring this to life, right? Now, I know a lot of builders here are thinking about agents. I'm building that agent or this agent. So let me give a little bit of background on what to expect with agents and how we're evolving some of our agents. So what is an agent? It's your best reasoning partner. That's how we want you to think about it. So what does the best reasoning partner look like? One, they're highly collaborative. Collaboration doesn't mean they always agree with you, they always try to make you happy. Collaborative means they make you effective. They push back when you're wrong, they make decisions when they have enough context, but they're also learning and growing. So day 10 of using an agent should feel better than day 1. Day 100 of using an agent should feel better than day 10. Also, over time, it should be able to do longer tasks on its own, and it should have sufficient autonomy. Now, these are desirable properties of agents. It's actually harder. In today's world, when 150th day or 200th day of agent is starting to lose memory, it's starting to compact memory in ways that becomes a little bit unusable or unpredictable. And so there's like actual real interesting infrastructure problems there that we're solving. So what are the 3 important infrastructure components when thinking about an agent that we will make available? One is contextual intelligence. Second is long-running execution. Third is genuine collaboration. So let me go into the depths of each of them. First one is contextual intelligence. So this goes back to the mental model of, hey, day 10 should be better than day 1, day 100 should be better than day 10. What does that mean? It should ask enough questions when it doesn't know, but when it starts to learn about your individual preference, it's able to follow those instructions better. By day 10, by day 20, it's able to understand what your team's preferences are. By day 100, it's able to understand your organizational preferences. What it means is that not just individual memory, but also episodic and organizational memory that becomes very important. Right? The infrastructure for this is much harder than I can explain on stage. But what I want you to think is that we're relentlessly pursuing and making sure that this is highly effective. And there's like very advanced algorithms we're building behind the scenes, and we want to make it available via SDK and APIs to all of you. Second is long-running execution. In real life, most of the things that are of value, you have hypothesis. You test like a scientist. You experiment in real world. You run A/B tests. You run multiple hypotheses. You learn. You realize that it's wrong. Sometimes it's learning. You have to run this test for 2 weeks because it may have different effects if you just run it for a day. You have to iterate. You have to come back. You have to reason. You have to add instrumentation. These are multi-day, multi-week tasks. Now imagine you go, boil this over. I gave you a coding example. You boil this over to like real-life life sciences. These things will also take weeks and months. We want agents to be able to run long and have just the right amount of autonomy, but also to know that it's run out of depth. It should feel psychologically safe and secure to ask you for help, right? And then last is genuine collaboration. Genuine collaboration means transparent reasoning. Like it should be clear about why it's thinking, how it's thinking. It should be asking for help. It should be able to push back when it doesn't make sense. This is why being hyper-focused on productive work matters to us a lot, because these skills transfer over to each other. Right? And a true, genuine collaboration is not just doing what you ask it to do, but helps you expand your horizons to what is possible. And so this is what the future of agents is going to look like. Now, what should you expect going forward, with the product and platform space? So today, most of us experience AI through just chat. And if you extend that, I believe that we're soon going to be seeing Claude without keyboards, right? And so what does it mean to not be bound by a chat interface, not be bound by a keyboard interface? So that's going to happen at some point. Ambient Claude. So today, most of our AI experiences, we initiate the conversation. So imagine the conversation happens a little bit more subtly behind the scenes, but again, it has to be done safely and for good. And third is iterating in real world. If everything from farming to life sciences to even in software, iterating in the real world is going to matter quite a bit. And that's the arc of where things will be going over the next 1 or 2 years. When I think about all of this technology and I think about India, it feels really hard to scale at in India. There's 22 official languages, 1,000 dialects, 1.4 billion people, millions of unique use cases. Yesterday, I spent time with a bunch of co-founders, and then I spent time with nonprofit. Udyam Learning Foundation is a great example where they're hyper-focused on entrepreneurs between 16 and 25 age. And 50% of India's population is less than 25 years old. They're teaching them how to be business thinkers from the beginning. And the kind of use cases and solutions they've come up with at a high school level or early college level is just amazing to see, right? And we will never, no Silicon Valley lab is ever going to be able to think about all the possible use cases. And this is where, being able to figure out what actually works, what is unique for India, is going to depend on the builders in this room and beyond. So India is prepared. Why? India is the most optimistic of all the countries. Repeated surveys say India is the most optimistic about AI. 75% of the people in India believe AI is going to help them achieve more things. Second, India has amongst the most global perspective because it's already working with almost all the nations around the world. Third is the largest developer community. There's 20 million GitHub developers. But also what is interesting is 1 in 3 new GitHub developers are from India. So there's a lot of technical density here already. But the most important thing is, for me, India's story is not about a gradual adoption. It is about one of compression. Things happen very rapidly, very quickly. It's the intellectual openness. It is the adaptability in India at scale that really leapfrogs most technology changes. Not only is India prepared, but India is also scaling pretty rapidly. We've announced partnership with Accenture, IBM, Cognizant, Deloitte. We'll have more announcements coming soon, but about 5 lakh employees are getting trained on Claude already. On the public-private partnership, Pratham is a great example, focused on school children, especially for girls. Udyam, again, as I said, it's focused on youth entrepreneurship between age 16 and 25. Step is for agriculture. My grandparents were farmers in North Karnataka, so it's also very near and dear. And so these are all great examples of public-private partnership that's also going to take life. So India is scaling actually quite rapidly on applying AI at a massive scale. Now I'll leave you with, I was going back into how did people navigate the second industrial revolution. So in 1899, there was a quote I think it is a comedy magazine, where somebody's like, hey, should we be hiring more patent examiners and so on? And somebody quips is like, I think everything that there is to be invented has already been invented. So that's one way to think about, this is in 1899, and it was said in jest, to be fair. And then 2 years later, or 3 years later, the head of the US Patent Office came out with this very profound statement. Everything that has been invented so far is going to feel so insignificant compared to everything else that's going to happen. And that person goes on to say, I wish I was born again because like I want to witness all the amazing innovations that are going to happen. Now just imagine 100 years of innovation getting compressed down to the next 5, 10 years. And so my call to action to all the builders is dream really big and build something impossible. Thank you.
I'm back here, and this time I want to extend a little what I heard through the morning, through the afternoon, talked about what we can build, but now we take the conversation to people who've already built and scaled and hear from their learned examples. So I have the privilege of calling 3 people up on stage here who've built applications to scale, known to most of you, the organizations that they've built, and the work which is touching a lot of us. So please welcome on stage Harshil Mathur, Abhijit Kane, and Madhusudan. Please come on in. Thank you so much. So I have the first question for all of you. A year ago, AI in production really meant a lot of chatbots, conversational AI, co-pilots, etc. And from that time, it went across from becoming an AI assistant to AI as an actor. What is the pivotal experience that you had within your organizations, and how did you drive some of that?
Yeah, I think it's been across so many different dimensions. It's hard to put in, but I think the first major impact was on the engineering and coding side. I think the last entire year you saw it shift from something that assists you to write code to almost something that can plan